are responsible for not wanting to believe the gospel. Even if that wanting of something else is so strong we can't want. Because the reason for the not wanting to is our own corruption. And we're guilty for that corruption. It's not that there's something outside of us that has restrained our ability to follow through. We ourselves are in love with sin. And we're so in love with sin, we cannot love Jesus.
Now, I have to interrupt Dr. Piper here because he's saying there's nothing outside of us that's restraining us, but yet he holds to the doctrine of total inability, which is the doctrine which teaches that mankind is born in a condition of being totally unable to willingly believe even God's own appeal to be reconciled from the fall. And it's as if Piper is just assuming that our guilt for the fall is totally disabling, and ignoring the fact that it's disabling because of God's decree. God had to decide, okay, as a result of Adam's fall, here's how I'm going to punish man. If I have a child, and my child lies to me, the lie of the child is totally the child's doing. The child did that. They're responsible for that. They're the ones who made the mistake. And sometimes in my house, we have 4 children, and so sometimes in my house, when one child messes up, it affects the whole household. It affects all 4 children, and we'll make a new rule or a new edict passed down from dad and mom saying, okay, internet will be off by this time from this point forward because of the mistake of one child, and all of them will bellyache, well, it wasn't us, why does everybody have to suffer? Well, we're all one family, and we all suffer the consequences of each other's actions is one of the things we like to teach within our household. And so, okay, so one child does something wrong, so the whole household suffers for that. But I am ultimately, as the father and working with my wife, we're ultimately the ones to decide the consequence of the actions. And so if our child lies to us, then we decide, okay, this is going to be the result of that lie. Here's how we're going to punish them. So imagine if I decide to punish my children. One of them lies, and it affects the whole family. And so I put all of my children into a room that's locked from the outside that I only have a key to. And they can't exit the door unless I unlock the door. Matter of fact, let me just divide them out into their own individual rooms. They're each in their room, locked from the outside. Okay? That's the punishment. I said, you're grounded to your room. You have to stay there. Get into your rooms. You're all grounded into your rooms. Dad, it's not our fault. We didn't do it. He did it. Doesn't matter. That's the way the rules of the household are. If one child sinned, it affects all the children, everybody in your bedrooms. And I go and I lock the door on the outside, and none of them can come out. Okay? And then because of just my own reasons, no real reason, except for my own secret wisdom or knowledge, I decide to go and unlock 2 of the rooms and leave the other 2 locked. And then I call the children to come down to be reconciled for the wrongdoing and the fall and what happened. I want them to come down. But of course, only 2 of them come down because only 2 of them have been granted the ability to do so. Do you see the problem with that from the parental side? I'm the one who decided as punishment for the sin of one of them to lock all of them in their individual rooms, which would be one thing. But for me then to only unlock 2 of their doors and call all of them as if I want all of them to come down to be reconciled, that it gives this, it gives a picture of a disingenuous appeal to be reconciled. Now, the obvious Calvinistic rebuttal to that, well, you're talking about physical inability, and not moral inability. It's a distinction without a difference, really. Because whether I lock the door where they're physically unable to come, or whether I drug them to make them morally, where they're in their minds, their nature is not wanting to come, it doesn't matter what makes them not want to be able to come. It's that I am the one who has decided to consign them over to that condition as their parent. And that's what Calvinism has God doing. He has all mankind consigned over to this inability from birth to be able to want to come, yet he calls all people as if he wants them all to come, and only enables a select few of them to actually do so. And that's where people cry foul against the Calvinistic worldview. It's not so much that God saves anyone. It's great that, it's merciful for him to save anyone. It's this concept of him calling all mankind and appealing for all mankind and telling us through the scriptures that he desires and loves and wants all mankind to come, that gives this impression of a disingenuous call. And that's one of the reasons that Calvinism can turn into hyperism and hyper-Calvinism, anti-evangelism, is because it can take on this view in which, well, for God to appeal to all mankind makes him sound disingenuous, and so let's not really emphasize this calling of all mankind thing, because we don't want to make God appear disingenuous. We just need to be more careful to make God sound better by only making it seem as if God really wants to appeal for certain people.